Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. I'm Mike Evans.
And I'm David Price.
And David, in this week's episode, what are we going to be talking about?
It's the Cambridge Audio EVO 150 one-box system.
There we are.
And I think you know full well, Mike, because it's sitting on your lap.
Ah, here it is.
So,
very good, very good. Very neat looking, cool bit of kit, actually.
Yeah.
Cambridge Audio on the top there,
Yeah.
we can see that.
Yeah.
And actually a very, very nice screen. Obviously it's not switched on at the moment.
Yeah.
A really lovely screen where you can show off all of your album artwork and all of the sort of functions and controls. And it feels very premium.
It does,
It really does, yeah. And I have to say, so far so good.
Yeah.
I've been really impressed with this for multiple reasons. Not just because I think it sounds great, but I think one of the problems with a few of the streamers are they're quite hard and fiddly to set up.
Yeah.
This one isn't. It's got its own. It's got to use its own app.
Yeah, Stream Magic
The
app.
Stream Magic app. Yeah. Which you download obviously. I'm an Android phone user, so download from the Google Play Store, and it found it immediately.
Yeah.
And then we're up and running. And then it's quite clever because you can then add your different services.
Yeah.
So it's got a plethora of inputs on the back here.
Yeah.
So you can choose actually what you want to use. Now, I thought that was quite cool because it means that you don't have this sort of massive list of 20 different potential sources when maybe you've only got one or two. So it connected no problem to my Qobuz account.
Yep.
My Rune account. It's got internet radio was on there as well. I mean, in terms of connectivity, it's stupid. I mean, it's got so much, Chromecast and Bluetooth and everything. So there's really nothing. There's something for everybody. Two opticals, coaxial.
Well, I was there when basically we pulled it out of the box, kind of from new, as it were, and put the kettle on at the same time. And I don't think I'd made the tea by the time you'd got that thing running on Qobuz. Although it did take, it did have a little. We had to tell it the internet, my internet account, obviously, my broadband router code, and then it did a software update, didn't it?
Yes. As they always do.
Yeah. And that was kind of the longest time.
It was.
I think the longest part of the setup, which was all of a minute or so.
It was. So when I plugged it into my system, I just hardwired it straight into the network.
Yeah.
And it found everything, and it's found my my network attached storage and all of that, all those wonderful things.
Yeah.
It worked totally seamlessly with Rune.
Yeah.
Which again I'm a fan of, as you know.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. So it's kind of I guess the direct competition for this is the name Unity Atom.
Yeah. I think this is £2,500, and then I think at the moment the name is exactly the same. So it's
absolutely spot on competition.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. And look, let's be really honest. The name is going to take some beating. Yeah. Because it's been a long time favourite. Yeah. But look, this is terrific. Yeah. Absolutely terrific. And I love the way it works. I love the way it looks. It feels, as I say, it feels very premium, but it sounds great. Yeah. And of course, that's what you're going to be using it for. So it's a terrific bit of kit. Now, I've been using it with the ATCs at the moment, which we reviewed previously.
Yes, SCM40s, which, to be fair, aren't your normal speaker to be using with a £2,500 one-box system.
No, very true.
But very inefficient for a start.
They're incredibly hard to drive. Yeah. But look, this doesn't seem to have any problem at all. No. And then speaking of...
that one reason for that being it's 150 watts per channel into 8 ohms.
Yes, sure.
So that's quite a lot of power.
Well, I was going to say, and also speaking of speakers, which you're not always going to be using with, we tried it with your Yamaha NS-1000Ms as well. Yeah. And it coped with those really well.
No problem.
So hats off to it for this little box. It's doing an amazing job. Yeah. And I like the form factor of this. Yeah. See, now this is flying against everything which I've always enjoyed, because I've got 100,000 boxes of amplifiers and cables everywhere. God knows what.
I'd say that's conservative estimates. Yeah.
And this is just kind of this is it. Just add speakers. Yes. And away you go, and you end up with a very sort of house friendly super looking hi-fi system.
Yeah, for God's sake, don't tell anyone who lives in this house, otherwise the other amps might be shown the door.
They'll be in the shed.
Yeah,
right. But no, I think this is great, and I can sort of imagine, this being the hub of quite a few people's hi-fi systems. And as you need this, you need a couple of speaker leads and a couple of speakers, and wham, away we go.
Absolutely, so, it's got a very good streamer.
Yes, it has.
And it's also got obviously DAC functionality. It's got Toslink optical ins and one coaxial as well. And we used the coax, didn't we? We used my Blu-ray player to play some Blu-ray audio discs on it.
Yeah, brilliant.
And that was New World Man by Rush, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely. And a few other bits and bobs. But
that's right.
I think technically there's probably reasons why coax sounds better, but I've always seemed to prefer it over Toslink.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's in theory it gets more data through. Toslink's restricted, isn't it, in its sample rate?
Yes, I think there's some talk of Toslink being slightly more jittery or having a tendency for that.
Sure.
But even so, the interesting thing for me was that the SP diff in coaxial sounded better than the streamer.
Oh, way better. Way better.
And that's almost always the case, I think, with anything. It's not a criticism of this unit at all.
No.
But I'm just saying, if you want absolute maximum sound, use a high-end, like in our case, we used a Blu-ray transport, because it can obviously play 2496 or 24192, whatever.
Yes.
But basically, an optical disc sounds very good through this, which shows you the quality of the DAC.
We talked about that when we reviewed the Melco music library, and how if you've got it in the Melco's case on a really decent hard drive, it sounds much better than streaming from the internet every single time. And I really enjoyed this with the coaxial, with sort of spinning disc, physical material. It sounded really good.
Although the streamer was very good as well.
Yes.
So it's perfectly good and respectable, I'd say.
In fact, your copy of Signals, which we were playing, was a Blu-ray, wasn't it?
It was a Blu-ray audio.
Yes.
So.
I'm very jealous of that, by the way. Very hard to find, as I've subsequently discovered.
Yes, it wasn't on eBay when you typed it in.
No, very disappointing. But the other thing I must mention, and I should have it here, but I haven't got it to hand. The remote control actually feels really premium. I think one of my bugbears at the moment is all of these sort of generic remote controls, which are just, they're the same old, just reprogrammed. Whereas the remote for this feels great. So.
It's almost a kind of B&O type of late 80s B&O kind of design. It's super minimalist and clean, isn't it? And it's metal. It's got a really nice kind of feel to it.
It's even got a little slot where you can rest your finger on the back. Which is really cool.
There you go.
Look, am I being? Is it fair to say that Cambridge seems to be really kind of upping their game at the moment?
I think so. Yeah. We both remember the CD1, don't we? Which was the mid-80s CD player, which was based, I think, on a Philips CD104.
Yes.
But sort of turbocharged beyond belief. And at that time, in the mid-80s, that was arguably, for a short period of time, the best CD player in the world, wasn't it?
It was.
It's also very expensive as well.
Yes, yeah.
So the brand... in our lifetimes has had very associations with being very high end, and also before that in the 70s it was quite premium as well, and then later on, kind of from the 90s, it became associated with budget, very affordable stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. It did some cracking products, like the CD4 SE CD player, which I think was a John Westlake design, who's a real digital boffin. Also did the digital side of the Pink Triangle DAC of that time. I think it was a Cardinal DAC. also the DAC Magic. You remember the
I do.
Cambridge Audio DAC Magic?
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, so
that was really good.
That was kind of early 90s. And
yes, yeah.
something silly like £99, but it kind of was better made than many Pro DACs, I think, around at the time.
Yeah, if you can get one of those now, then get one. They're still pretty cool.
Absolutely.
DACs.
Well, I'll have to try and find one and do a riff on it.
I think it'd be brilliant.
So the company's kind of gone from, sort of reposition itself over the years, but I think with the more recent Edge separates, the sort of high-end separates, which are very good, I think, and this now, it's showing that the brand is trying to sort of stretch its legs a bit, I think.
I agree. I agree.
The only thing for me, I would say, at the moment at least, is down the pub, if someone says, I've just bought myself a new name Unity Atom, and you say, I've just got a new EVO 150 Cambridge Audio, which has the better bragging rights?
That's a really good question, isn't it? Probably down the pub, probably the Cambridge, because no one's heard of name down the pub.
Okay,
so,
all right.
And everyone's heard of Cambridge, so you could buy it in richer sounds.
Yeah.
But,
down the Hi-Fi pub.
Down the Hi-Fi pub.
Yeah, down the Hi-Fi snobs pub. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. But I don't know that they would be right.
No.
I guess that what we haven't done, which we probably should have, is do a complete A/B comparison of them both.
Yeah.
But having said that, in many ways I didn't really need to. I listened to this. I think it sounds terrific.
Yeah.
It's a lovely product.
I agree. I mean, I've heard the name Unity Atom. I've reviewed it, I think, and this, in the same system, not exactly the same time, but I would say this is a smoother and more gutsy sounding thing, and the name is maybe slightly more direct and energetic, and kind of quite a little bit more, sort of musical, maybe.
Sure.
To use it, it's a horrible term, but it's certainly not a kind of a case of one being better than the other outright. They're just different, and this has certainly got more power than the name.
Yes,
and better loudspeaker driving ability, better current driving ability, I'd say. And
also sort of software-wise, they're both absolute class leaders.
Yeah.
So the name app is a treat to use.
Yeah, it is.
The name remote control is actually even more premium than the Cambridge one, because it lights up when you go near it and all of these lovely things. But it's so good to see both companies have got that bit right.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a total deal breaker, and we've tried to set up a few streaming systems recently, and just that's why I have no hair left anymore. Just absolutely horrible experience. But this was a treat, and it did work very well. As did the name.
Yeah, the name's great to set up as well.
Yeah, 100%. So look, a really, really lovely bit of kit actually, and I think certainly I'd recommend one of these every day of the week.
Yeah, it's
down the Hi-Fi pub.
Absolutely, down the Hi-Fi pub. Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi pub. So
coming soon.
Coming soon, yeah. Coming to a YouTube near you.
Yes, aka the Red Lion. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a class act, I'd say. This is like many of the high-end Class D power amps and integrateds that we review. It's got Hypex Encore Class D modules, which is a real sign that they're paying money for decent ingredients, as it were.
Yeah.
It's all very well done from a sound quality point of view. It's got lots of great connectivity around the back. It's got aptX HD Bluetooth. It's got a preamp output. It's got an ARC HDMI, USB inputs, and all the rest of it.
Moving magnet.
Yes, absolutely. Moving magnet phono
stage. Really brilliant, because my name Unity Atom headphone edition doesn't have an MM input.
Right.
Which is a bit of a shame, because obviously I then have to use a phono stage for it.
Yeah.
Not a deal breaker, but it's nice to have it built in.
Yeah.
And I like that. So.
Well, I think it's got better connectivity than the name.
Yeah, it has. There's no two ways about it.
So,
yeah. 2 sets of speaker binding posts, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And it does 24192 and DSD256, and as you say, MQA or whatever, and Cobuzz and Room Ready, all that kind of stuff. It's hard to think of something it doesn't have that you'd want at that price.
Do you know, and it's funny, I was just thinking, actually, wouldn't a really lovely system be if you had this with the new Riga Planner 3, which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
You know, that would just be a really nice system. You'd have everything you would ever need then, wouldn't you? And then, you know, and speakers of your choice.
Yes.
After
in Mike's case, ATC SCM40s. Which,
yeah.
Not the most kind of obvious kind of lifestyle-y.
No, sure. But it's a fair question.
Yeah.
You know, what would you if you had your Riga 3 and your that really lovely Riga moving magnet cartridge which we reviewed?
Yeah.
And you had this. What speakers would you? Let's say it's sort of like posh bookshelf, for example. We did the Neats. Would they be a bit expensive to fit into that
maybe
system?
a little bit. The Neat Ministras, which are the kind of baby ones with isobarics.
Yeah.
They're really hard to drive, but that's not a problem with this.
Absolutely.
So that would be a really cool system. Neat Ministra speakers, this, and a Riga 3 with maybe an exact cartridge.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I'm sure.
It would.
There's endless other combinations, but that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, and you know, we're probably not being very fair with difficult ATCs and Yamahas to drive, but it's still coped brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly.
The fact that it could do without turning into a kind of snivelling wreck, says a lot, I think.
It really does. It really does.
And the display is lovely. The OLED display, the internal DAC, as I said, is a good one. It's an ESS Sabre. It just, to me, it feels very Scandinavian. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like some kind of, it feels sort of 1970s Scandinavian design. It's quite Habitat, 1970s Habitat, isn't it?
Yeah, if Saab made hi-fi, this would be it. It's sort of, it's understated and slick, but does everything really well.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is like a little, like a Saab turbo.
Yes.
Of the hi-fi world. So
that's right. Well, and I think there's
owned by architects.
Yeah. There's an EVO 75 version, which is the non-turbo version with a mere 75 watts RMS per channel into 8 ohms claimed, I think. You go for the big one. Why not?
Do it. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, so very good. So should we give it a riffometer score?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
For me, it's a very solid 8, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna squeeze another half a point out of that. So I'm gonna go for an 8.5.
Yeah.
Because of that wonderful easy setup, which is such a refreshing thing to have these days. So Cambridge Audio, well done, very well thought out product. Big thumbs up from Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff.
Yes, and also because it drives your new favourite speakers, the ATCs.
It does, absolutely. There we are, and on that note, as it were, thank you very much indeed for watching this episode of Mike and Dave's Hi-Fi Riff. We'll very much look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thanks a million. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.